Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Hannah.
Hello, I'm Pat.
And I'm Kenneth, and this is
Pink
Pink
Glow
Podcast.
podcast.
Podcast. We are students from Enderan colleges, and this podcast is for our science, technology, and society subject, also known as STS. In this subject, we discuss the relationship between science, technology, and society in a fun way. And this podcast is a research work we had to do to complete the subject. So, what are we going to talk about today?
I think today's podcast is going to be very interesting. I learned so much just talking about it with you guys, and after talking about it, I think we all got curious. And then we Googled, and before we knew, we created the podcast episode about it.
It's one of those things you find on the internet, and then you search, read, and then watch, and then you get consumed by the rabbit hole related to the thing or topic you searched.
Yeah, and then you suddenly become an expert.
Yeah, you know so much. You can get a PhD for it.
But before we share the topic for our today's podcast, we'd like to thank our sponsors. No, I'm kidding. We don't have any.
But what the
What if?
Yeah, so we're going to give you some context and tell you why we suddenly got interested in this topic. And then later on, share all things that we found out.
So it started with me. It's weird talking about myself, so I'll let you guys share.
We noticed Hannah's glowing appearance, so Ken and I got curious.
Of course, we had to ask Hannah for her secret because she looked terrific.
True. So she spilled the tea and drum roll please. She told us it was because of the pink glow pineapple.
Hindi naman, guys. But yeah, I also noticed a difference, not just with how I look, but also with my overall health.
So we researched, we Googled and found out a few things, not just a few, but a lot of things. So we'll start by with why Hannah looks so fine because of the pink glow pineapples, then share what the heck pink glow pineapples are, where it's from, how it's made, and talk about genetically modified food or GMOs.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is STS after all, and then share our thoughts on how GMOs, specifically the pink glow pineapples, could be further developed for food security.
Big words, right? But we promise we're gonna keep it easy to understand and fun. What are pink glow pineapples? I found out about it through a friend in the US. It was recommended, actually. It isn't available here in the Philippines, so I always ask for it as a pasalubong from friends and family.
So you asked them to bring pineapples from the US.
Yeah, it's not a problem because pink glow pineapples can last up to 5 days when stored properly. And if you cut them into pieces and refrigerate them, they could last a week. If you freeze it, it could last up to 3 months.
How cool. And on our research, we found out that Del Monte, the fruit company, and by the way, again, not sponsored, was trying to develop an Instagrammable product 16 years ago. So this was before Instagram, and they were already trying to create an IG worthy product. So the pineapple they developed is pink, hence the name Pink Glow. But it's not just aesthetic, it has many health benefits and could help issues around food security and food waste if further developed.
I love pink. So I wondered how Del Monte made them in that color. So they achieve the pink color by altering a tiny enzyme that determines the color of the fruit's flesh. Pineapples apparently have enzymes that turn lycopene, which gives fruits a pink to red pigment to beta carotene, which is responsible for a regular pineapple's beta carotene. To keep the pink glow pineapples pink, scientists have inhibited that specific enzyme to keep it from turning yellow. It's the same component that makes tomatoes red and watermelons pink. It's lycopene.
There's just something about pink pineapples. They look yummier, and they are. Since it's a genetically modified organism, or GMO, the modification gives it a unique taste. It's less sour than a traditional pineapple, but also juicier and sweeter in taste.
But how's it made, you wonder? It's different from what we would typically imagine, where they make it in a fruit lab. It's not like the Hulk. It's a cute fruit. So to make a cute looking fruit, they simply alter an old pineapple's crown enzymes and bury it in the ground. And when they harvest, they remove the crown and replant it to produce a new one.
I'm still mind blown by how it's made. But I want to know how the pink glow pineapples can help you look good.
So the pink glow pineapple has a lot of amazing benefits. There's a lot. So I need your help on this one, guys. I'll start, then we'll take turns.
Sure.
Sure.
I'll start with the basics. Like regular pineapples, pink pineapples are rich in vitamin C and manganese. Small amounts of thiamine, vitamin B6, and folate are also in them. Pineapples, not just the pink ones, are also a good source of fiber and have enzymes that may help digestion. Also, pineapples have bromelain, which is a group of anti inflammatory enzymes. Boosts immunity, vitamin C is essential to a healthy immune system, and pink pineapples are full of it. Researchers have found that vitamin C helps keep the body from getting sick by making the body make more white blood cells. White blood cells are important for fighting off germs and viruses. High levels of phytochemicals like flavonoids and anthocyanin are also found in the fruit. These chemicals can help protect the body from damage caused by free radicals, which can hurt cells, proteins, and DNA.
Yay! This is a bit of regular and GMO part. Bromelain, which has anti-inflammatory properties, is found in pink pineapple. They help lower inflammation in the body, which is a key part of many long-term diseases like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and arthritis. Bromelain also assists in breaking down proteins and reduces inflammation in the gut. This helps the body break down food and prevents problems like bloating and gas.
Bromelain also breaks down dead tissue and encourages the growth of new tissue, which is an important part of wound healing. Also, the vitamin C in pink pineapple is needed to make collagen and heal skin that has been damaged. Pink pineapple has a lot of vitamin C, which helps make the skin look brighter and lessens the look of dark spots and wrinkles. Enzymes in pink pineapples, like bromelain, can help remove dead skin cells and speed up the turnover of skin cells by gently exfoliating the skin. Also, pink pineapple has a lot of antioxidants, which can help safeguard skin from harm brought on by free radicals and other things in the environment. So, adding pink pineapple to your diet can help enhance the appearance of your skin, making it look brighter, smoother, and younger.
Love it.
Love it. GMOs have been addressing issues regarding food waste and food security. Since the pink pineapple is a GMO, it can contribute to lessening food waste and, hopefully, help with the heart wrenching issue of food security.
I like that what started as a compliment ended as a discussion about food security and waste.
Agree, the possibilities are endless with our current technologies added with creativity and empathy.
With regular pineapples, there's so much waste because the crown is useless. Since the pink pineapples are grown by planting existing pineapple crowns in the ground, it reduces food waste.
And since you get more nutrients with the pink pineapple and other GMOs, there's less need to intake more food, which helps food security and waste.
So imagine if this product gets further developed, we do not just get a delicious fruit with heaps of health benefits, we also get to help solve issues regarding food security and waste.
True.
True.
This has been fun, guys.
That brings us to the end of this episode.
Thank you for listening to
Pink Glow
Pink Glow
Podcast.
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 Good day, I'm Joseph Serdoncillo.
Good day, and I'm Yumi Lazaldua, and welcome to the podcast STS.
Yay! Welcome to our podcast. So, Yumi, kamusta ka naman?
I'm okay naman so far, Jojo. How about you?
Oh, I'm very well today. It's a very good day today.
I see, good to know. So let's get to our topic for this episode. Jojo, can you introduce our topic for today?
Sure. Our topic for today is all about GMOs or genetically modified organisms. And for this episode, we will be talking about purple tomatoes.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious. So what's the drive behind the creation of purple tomatoes, Jojo?
Okay, so first of all, I would just like to say that this is very interesting for me because purple tomatoes are just exactly like tomatoes. I read somewhere that it also tastes, smells, and looks like regular tomatoes, except it is really just purple. Okay, but anyway, just to give a brief background, purple tomatoes are originally from Norfolk in England by a group of scientists from the Norfolk Plant Sciences. So these were actually made mainly because of how tomatoes are widely consumed. So the demand in the markets are pretty high, but also the shelf life of regular tomatoes are not as long. So it covers the issue of food security that way since it is a widely consumed product with high demands in the market, yet it doesn't really last long.
I see. So why? How long is the shelf life of regular tomatoes?
Well, regular tomatoes can last up to 21 days, but with these genetically modified purple tomatoes, the shelf life is actually doubled. So from 21 days, it can last up to 42 days if properly stored.
I see, I see. So where is this available, by the way?
Okay, so it originated from England, but then imports to other countries like the US, where it is highly consumed, were already approved. The distribution of these purple tomato seeds in the US supermarkets were allowed recently, so the people can plant and harvest the tomatoes now. Also, it is now in Ontario in Canada. And what's more interesting is that these genetically modified purple tomatoes are harvested in that place specifically to produce 2,000 liters of purple tomato juice. Isn't it so fascinating?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, okay. So, since this is our topic for today for our podcast, I'm assuming you've also read something about purple tomatoes, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what are the parts of the tomatoes that have been modified and how are they modified?
So based on my research, it was modified using a genetic material from a snapdragon flower. Interesting, right? So scientists have expressed genes from the snapdragon to grow purple tomatoes high in health protecting or anthocyanins. So the purple color comes from a subset of flavonoid molecules, which gives the purple color the tomato. So snapdragons, on the other hand, contains the co-expressive genes rosea and delilah, which is responsible for anthocyanin accumulation. So the tomato plants were created by making tiny changes to an existing tomato gene. So using an editing technique called CRISPR-Cas9, it's like a pair of molecular tweezers which you can use to precisely snip out a very small fragment of the gene to enhance a desirable trait in plants a lot quicker than the traditional breeding process and without introducing any foreign DNA from other species.
Oh, wow, that is very informational and scientific. I really like what the technique is called, the CRISPR-Cas9.
Yeah, so Jojo, tomatoes are naturally red, right? Yung
Yeah.
GM tomatoes, they're not red. So I'm
Hmm.
curious, I'm wondering, are purple tomatoes safe for human consumption?
Ay, nako. Yes, I know that purple tomatoes and GMOs in general, they seem to pose a threat because they look different from what they naturally are. But do not worry. Federal agencies such as the USDA, FDA, and EPA always ensure that GMOs are safe for human consumption. They're also known to even have lots of vitamins and nutrients. So, most likely, they are very much safe to consume. And like I mentioned a while ago, it is just like a regular tomato, except the appearance is just purple. So, it doesn't really contain any harmful substances.
I see, I see. Isn't it incredible to think that purple tomatoes are a nutrient-dense superfood with several health benefits?
Oh, you're right. You're right. So, Yumi, now that you've mentioned it and knowing that purple tomatoes are safe naman for human consumption, can you tell our listeners what the health benefits of purple tomatoes are?
Yeah. So purple tomatoes actually they produce high levels of anthocyanins. So you might be wondering, right? So what are anthocyanins? So anthocyanins are a colored water soluble pigments belonging to the phenolic group. They are in the vacuoles of plant cells. So it was genetically engineered to have greater levels of anthocyanins, which is thought to have beneficial health effects. So some of the health benefits, it can improve cardiovascular function and improve health and well-being. It also has anti-inflammatory properties. It is also beneficial for treating diabetes and ulcers. It is antiviral, antimicrobial, and high antioxidant. So the consistency of anthocyanin levels in the item is greatly influenced by temperature during handling, with high temperatures harming and decreasing anthocyanin levels.
Ah, okay. So that's what anthocyanin is pala kasi I've been curious about it and it's really nice, no? Kasi ang dami palang health benefits nitong purple tomatoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so given this, yung purple tomato and its purpose, what do you think, Yumi? Do you think GMO is ethically right or wrong? And why do you think so?
For me, it's not ethically wrong for me. Over 40 years of research and with billions of people consuming them every day, no GMO has yet been deemed hazardous. So they are not only extremely safe and without a doubt, but they may also save at least 1 million people who die from starvation and 500,000 who routinely lose their vision due to hunger. So a GMO is essentially a food derived from a living form whose DNA has been altered in some way to make it larger, tastier, heat safe, cold safe, and so on. So while the DNA is foreign, it is still DNA, and it behaves similarly to the organism from whom it was extracted. And any living form you finish off, plant or creature, it has DNA in it that isn't damaging. So in a way, you may consume the stuff. So if the DNA added or coded for something toxic to humans, the FDA naman would most likely not label it as safe to eat, right? So yeah.
Oh, okay. So, you know, I'm just gonna say what I initially thought, but I really learned a lot from that, from what you said. So, sa akin naman, I was conflicted on this because on one side, it actually helps. Sorry, it actually helps solve a certain societal problem, like you said. And some GMOs have been proven to benefit the people through health benefits and even increase the production of certain crops when it comes to GM food. However, I also think that it can be ethically wrong since, ayun nga, I initially thought that some may pose risks to other organisms or even health risks for people if they are not proven to be safe for consumption. And I believe it can also be an issue wherein GMOs strengthen corporate dominance. So, what happens in this, what we call corporate dominance, is that some companies take control over the food system and that they do not really want to address the issue of food security and other societal issues. And instead, they only aim to increase their profits.
I see, I see. So I'm also kind of curious, Jojo. Let me ask you another question. So, does the creation of purple tomatoes piqued the interest of companies?
I think it most definitely does, since first it is a staple for places in the US. And recently, the purple tomato seeds just got approved to be sold in the US market. So it would definitely pique the interest of companies knowing that they can sell more with tomatoes that have a different appearance, more nutrients and benefits, and a longer shelf life. And also considering what was being done in Canada, which is the extraction of purple tomato juice, I think companies would also find their way on producing various products from these purple tomatoes.
I see. I see. That's really interesting.
Right?
So, one more question. So, what
Sure.
are your overall thoughts on GMOs and purple tomatoes?
Well, generally, I think GMOs are great ideas on how to address certain problems, as it allows new ideas to be brought upon, which may provide even better solutions. And like the purple tomatoes, and how it does not only address a part of food security, but also health issues by modifying its genes to allow more nutrients that can help protect the human body from various diseases. So, overall, I think it's really great, but at the same time, it would be also nice to see more critical discussions regarding GMOs about how ethically right or wrong it is. How about you, Yumi? What are your overall thoughts?
Well, progressively, I believe that GMO food variations are rigorously condensed before they are distributed to the public. So, in order to ensure that they are all about as safe as the food variations we currently eat. So, the outcome of these experiments was an excellent organic product and not because of the way it sounded. So, they additionally prevailed when it came to creating tomatoes with high levels of anthocyanins, so equivalent to the amount in blueberries. So, which is also beneficial for a variety of reasons. So, that is without a doubt historic. So, not far off is a fairly remarkable piece of genetic design. I'd want some of those tomatoes. I'd love to try them.
Oh, same, I want some of those tomatoes too here in the Philippines.
So that's the end of our discussion, and we hope you learned something.
Yes, especially about GMOs and purple tomatoes. Thank you so much for listening to Podcast STS.
Yay! Thank you.
Welcome to the Innovators Podcast with Mikey, Joji, and Liz.
Hey, it's Joji.
I'm Liz.
And you can call me Mikey.
Welcome to our podcast.
Today we will be exploring the world of food and agriculture. Ain't that right, Joji?
You got that right, Liz. We're diving into the story of the rainbow papaya, a tropical fruit with a unique history and an essential role in sustainable agriculture.
Oh, wait. Isn't that the modified papaya fruit developed in around 1990s by American phytopathologist and his team at Cornell University?
Yes, his name is Dennis Gonsalves. It is genetically modified and was developed in the 1990s to combat the devastation effects of the papaya ring spot virus, which was threatening the Hawaiian papaya industry. Fun fact, Dennis Gonsalves and his team were the creators of not just one, but two ring spot virus resistant papayas called Sunup and Rainbow, and even his wife, Carol Gonsalves, was part of the project.
Wow, that is awesome. I think it's also very important to give context to this papaya ring spot virus epidemic. Can you tell us more about what happened during that time, Liz? We need some insights here from our history expert.
Sure. So basically, the papaya industry is big in Hawaii. It's their first largest crop in terms of production. Their losses
I think it's actually their fifth, right? I think. Is it fifth or first?
fifth.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No
It's
problem.
their fifth largest crop in terms of production. Their losses actually started in the 1950s on an island in Hawaii called Oahu. The ring spot virus spread there, and they incurred huge economic losses due to that. And so in the 1960s, they tried moving the papaya production industry to another area called Puna, but the virus continued to spread and it just all went downhill from there by the later half of the 1990s. It was so bad that their production decreased by almost 40%. Needless to say, many farmers were affected and the huge majority of the people of Hawaii's source of food and income was at a loss.
Dang, that's awful. So how did the rainbow papaya eventually become the knight in shining armor in this situation?
Well, around the same time the US finished the review and testing of a papaya that's genetically engineered called the rainbow, and they gave the go signal to 200 small farmers to start planting it. Within just 4 years from 1998 to 2002, they were able to prevent the invasion of the ring spot virus and stop the papaya industry's rapid decline. As for the more technical aspects of it, I'll give the floor to our science expert, Joji, to explain or expound more about that.
No problem, Liz. I got you. Well, based on my research, the rainbow papaya is a cross between the red flesh sunup and Hawaii's yellow flesh Kapoho solo variety. Ooh, that's a lot. A sunup, for those who don't know, is a transgenic cultivar bearing red-fleshed fruit, and in it, it contains the papaya ring spot virus coat protein gene. Transgenic meaning it combines genes from unrelated species. Kapoho Solo, on the other hand, is a high in sugar, pear-shaped papaya that has greenish yellow skin that turns completely yellow when it is ripe. It has a peach melon taste or flavor. And so, combining these two, the rainbow papaya is created, which is an F1 hybrid variety of papaya. F1 hybrid is a short term for first generation hybrid seed or plant that comes from the cross-pollination of two different genetically uniform plant varieties, which are those that I just previously mentioned, the Kapoho and the Sunup. Now, if that makes it incredibly confusing for the listeners to follow, then to simplify things, all you have to do is view it like a vaccine. They inserted a gene that will make a papaya plant resistant to or immune to the ring spot virus and combine it all together, forming what we now know of as the rainbow papaya. Whew, that was a lot. I hope you all were able to follow or at least get the gist of how it was formed or how it came to be. As for its more physical features, on the other hand, and taste, I think we can all rely on our resident foodie Mikey to give us a gist of all of that.
Oh, absolutely. So unfortunately, the rainbow papaya does not look like or is colored like an actual rainbow.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, boo.
Yeah, guys, I know, but it looks like quite like the Kapoho Sola papaya, and there's not much to that, but many say that the taste is what's more important and where it's at. A lot of people say that the flesh is just as sweet as a ripe cantaloupe, and describe the taste as like a tropical melon with mango-like juiciness. It smells slightly musky when it's ripe, and it starts out green, but when it's like 70 to 90% yellow, it will yield to firm but gentle pressure when touched, kind of like an avocado. Then it is definitely ripe and good to eat.
That's really interesting. I would definitely like to try one, but sadly, I heard that they can only be planted in the state of Hawaii.
Well, that is true, but I know that they are imported in countries like Canada and Japan, who gave the approval for it after sun testing. They also have genetically modified papaya that fights papaya ring spot virus in South China called Huanong number 1, and it looks quite similar to a rainbow papaya, but I'm not very knowledgeable on whether it tastes exactly the same. I think they were formulated differently too. What I really want to know though is whether it's safe or not for the body and for the environment. You guys have any idea on that?
I'm not so sure about that, Joji. But I'm not quite so sure about the possible negative side effects on the body, but basically, as far as I know, I think that they said it's basically safe to eat. But for the environment, on the other hand, I know it went through a really thorough and rigorous assessment with like two huge agencies or departments in the US. Their EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, and their USDA, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, and both cleared it and determined that it brings no possible threats or safety concerns to the environment.
Well, hopefully we get to try it soon. Thanks to further advancements in technology, we were able to save industries from falling apart or going out of the business, and also look for cures to prevent the spread of diseases or forms of virus that could not only harm our body but our whole environment as well.
Yeah, GMOs are usually painted in a bad light. But yeah, there are certain issues in the society or the locality where it comes from that it addresses, and there is a reason why this particular GMO was created. And not just because we wanted to see a unicorn fantasy colored fruit for entertainment purposes, but more for utility and purpose.
That's true, although I would also like to see a unicorn fantasy colored food for entertainment purposes, but that's a different topic altogether. I agree with both of your sentiments. I hope you guys learned a lot about the history of the rainbow papaya and many more interesting facts and information that may be useful in the future for when you encounter these types of genetically modified food or organisms.
Yes, and with that, we hope to see you in the next episode of our podcast. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and night to you all.
See you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again for tuning in. We loved having you all. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye!
On a final note, with National Papaya Month coming up in June, we wanted to end it on a quote from Dennis Gonsalves, the scientist who developed the GMO papaya, who was born in Hawaii and graduated from Cornell. He said, "Without biotechnology, there's no papaya industry. Simple as that." Which is basically a quote saying that thanks to biotechnology, we're all able to eat Hawaiian papaya today. And that's how we want to end it. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful day, listeners. Welcome to the podcast. We are Tiffany and Claire. For this episode, we are going to talk about a genetically modified crop, Bacillus thuringiensis corn. Starting off with part 1. I know the first question that may come to your mind is, what is the difference between BT corn and the usual non-BT corn? Are we team BT corn or usual corn? Let us know the difference between the two. So, researchers find that BT corn has higher yields and uses nitrogen more efficiently than non-BT corn. Because BT corn produces an insecticide within its tissues, the toxic proteins are protected from the sun and thus persist longer. Moreover, BT corn makes the toxin continually over a season, extending its protective effects. But looking at it, its features are the same. They look the same, feel the same, just like a normal corn. Want to know more about it? Just keep listening to this episode. So what is it really? BT corn is corn that has been genetically modified so that it produces proteins from its built-in insect protection inserted from a naturally occurring soil bacterium, which is, like what I said, Bacillus thuringiensis, to control corn borers, corn rootworms, and other major pests of corn. They are hybrids enhanced through biotechnology to protect against insect pests, which produce proteins with insecticidal properties. In short, BT corn is a GMO corn that produces proteins that are toxic to certain insect pests, but not to humans, pets, livestock, or other animals. The first BT corn was approved in 1996, and critics have been suggesting that it also can destroy beneficial insects or other non targeted organisms. According to ARS entomologist Steve Naranjo, director of the U.S. Arid Land Agricultural Research Center in Maricopa, Arizona, and one of the authors of the study, hundreds of individual studies published between 1997 to 2020 were gathered that have looked at whether growing BT corn changed the environmental abundance of non-target animals such as arthropods, earthworms, and nematodes, especially as compared to growing non-genetically modified corn accompanied by the pesticide necessary to control major pests. It was found that BT corn had no negative effects on most invertebrate groups, including lady beetles, flower bugs, and lacewings. Populations of Braconidae insects, which are parasitoid wasps that prey on core borers, were reduced with BT corn. I want to know, what are the advantages and disadvantages of BT corn? Let's talk about it. First off, its advantages include number one, helping in improving the crop yield, thereby raising the farmer's income. This results in increased farm production. Number two, they help in controlling soil pollution as the use of synthetic pesticides is reduced. Number three, they help in protecting beneficial insects. Number four, it can easily feed an increasing population due to increased yields in a short time. Next, it leads to the production of disease-free crops owing to the reduction of pesticides. Next, it leads to more productivity in a small area of land. It also saves producers the time and money associated with scouting for pests and spraying pesticides on infected crops. It can control a pest or a group of pests, thus preventing potentially significant yield losses. And lastly, since BT corn offers an alternative to spraying chemical insecticides, it offers environmental and economic benefits to farmers. Most BT toxins are selective for specific caterpillars and closely related species. There are known effects to mammals, fish, or birds, and they appear safe for consumers. But there are also some disadvantages of BT corn or BT crops. Well, they're costlier than natural grown crops, and it can disrupt the natural process of gene flow, and the pest might become resistant to the toxins produced by these crops, and the crop production might decline. There is always the potential for pests to become resistant or tolerant to the genes. So the people or farmers must be proactive and continue to work to anticipate pest resistances and make improvements to the genes so plants can keep pests at bay before they develop a resistance to previous varieties. Moving on, you must be wondering, what is its impact in our country? Why do we have to know this? Why should we care? Honestly, I did not care about corn at all. Like, come on, this is just corn. But what about it? This is a pretty interesting one. So the Philippines is the first country in Southeast Asia to approve the commercial cultivation of a genetically modified crop for feed and food. BT corn in the Philippines was designed to be resistant to the Asiatic corn borer, or ACB. Ostrinia vernicalis, one of the nation's most destructive corn pests. The crop also presents a practical and ecological sustainable solution for poor corn farmers everywhere to increase their yields and decrease pesticide use, thus improving their health and livelihoods, alleviating poverty. Then GMO corn is transforming lives in the Philippines. Yield and income of BT corn farmers were significantly higher than those of the non-BT corn farmers. In addition, expenditure on insecticide was significantly lower among BT corn farmers. Most GMO corn is created to resist insect pests or tolerate herbicides. To know further more about BT corn, we invited a special guest to share their experience. Let us welcome a farmer in the Philippines, Mr. Edwin Paraluman.
Hi everyone, thank you for inviting me.
So, how are you, Mr. Edwin?
I'm doing very well, Tiffany. Thank you.
Alright, so let's just get on with it. Please tell us about yourself and your experience with BT corn.
I've been planting corn with my parents since childhood and continued the practice when I started my own family. Growing BT corn truly changed my life. It gave me peace of mind and more time to do other things, like care for my family and take up side jobs. In December 2003, BT corn was commercialized and I was the first farmer that planted it. The first time I planted BT corn, I was so amazed that in the 7 hectares that I planted, I didn't see any corn borers. There was no more damage to my corn. Before now, my house was just so small, but now it is really big. Now my income is good and I can make the right budgeting for my family. It increased my income and I'm now going around telling other farmers that this technology is very good. Before, I couldn't sleep well when I planted corn in my field. I was always afraid that I would wake up one day to find my cornfield destroyed by the corn borer. This is because the corn borer in the Philippines does not respect any season. It is always there in the cornfield. And I would always lose when I planted corn, and it came to a time when Elle had to stop planting corn and shifted to vegetables. I planted squash, string beans, other crops.
That was a disturbing course of events for you, Mr. Edwin.
But then I learned there was a technology that could deal with the corn borer in our country.
That was a fascinating story. I see how BT corn really had an impact not only to you and your family, but the farming life. So, were you among the first farmers in the Philippines to embrace this new technology and plant the genetically modified pest-resistant BT corn?
Yes, you are correct.
Oh, so before you go, tell me, are there any bad effects? Do BT corn or genetically modified crops in general cause any health problems?
Oh, no. Not at all. The people that were saying this would make you sick when we started initially have seen it is not true because I have proven it. I have been eating it for the past 14 years and I'm still hale and hearty. So, it's been 14 years that I've been planting this corn and there's not been any adverse effect on our health.
Okay, that's good to know. I learned a lot from this conversation. This is really interesting. Thank you for that, Mr. Edwin. It was really nice meeting you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, and take care, everyone.
Alright, so we heard from our guest today. It was such an honor meeting the first farmer in the Philippines who planted BT corn. Want to know what makes this item so special? Stay tuned. In the second part of this episode, we'll learn more about BT corn, how it looks, tastes, feels, where we can find it, its shelf life, the issue in the society we need to address, and finish off with a summary of how BT corn addresses the issue of food security and the locality where it's being used. Let me introduce to you our next speaker, Claire.
Genetically modified organism, which is the golden rice. And so for the first question is, what is golden rice?
Golden rice is a new type of rice that contains beta-carotene, provitamin A plant pigment that the body converts into vitamin A as needed. This compound is what gives this grain its yellow, orange, or golden color, hence its name, the golden rice. While vitamin A can be obtained from food products and supplements, challenges regarding their availability, accessibility, and affordability make it difficult to address the problem of the vitamin A deficiency, or what we call as the VAD. As rice is staple food in many vitamin A deficient communities in Asia, golden rice can be a significant help in improving these areas' vitamin A status once the grain becomes available for public consumption. Now, who developed the golden rice? Emeritus Professor Ingo Potrikos of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology and Professor Peter Bayer of University of Freiburg, Germany, started the research on golden rice in 1982 as a Rockefeller Foundation initiative. In 1992, after years of research, various groups came together in New York and decided to pursue the project, successfully causing beta-carotene to be present in rice grains in 1999 after using genetic engineering to add genes from daffodil and a common soil bacterium to rice. The inventors of golden rice partnered with Syngenta and other scientists, producing an improved version, which was the result of adding a gene from maize and the same soil microorganism. The level of beta-carotene content is 20 times higher than the first version. To help combat the vitamin A deficiency, or VAD, they donated this new version to the developing countries through the Golden Rice Network in 2004.
So, what are the genes containing the golden rice? So, golden rice is a genetically modified variety of rice that contains beta-carotene, which is converted, if it's converted in the human body, it turns into a vitamin A. So the beta-carotene biosynthesis pathway is introduced into rice by adding two genes from other organisms, one encoding the enzyme of phytone synthase, or PSY, and the other encoding the enzyme of phytone desaturase, or CRTI. So the PSY gene is obtained from a bacterium called Erwinia uredovora, while CRTI gene is derived from a plant called Phantoia ananatis. And these genes are inserted into the rice genome using recombinant DNA technology to produce the golden rice variety. It is important to note that the creation and distribution of genetically modified organisms, such as golden rice, is a topic of ongoing debate and controversy, and regulatory process and public opinion vary widely depending on the region and country. So, vitamin A deficiency is a major public health problem in many developing countries, including the Philippines, where rice is a staple food. So, according to the World Health Organization, vitamin A deficiency can lead to blindness, weakened immune system, and even death. It is estimated that around 1.7 million Filipino children under the age of 5 suffer from vitamin A deficiency. So golden rice aims to address this issue by providing additional source of vitamin A in the diet of the people who rely heavily on rice as their main source of calories. By increasing the vitamin A content in rice, golden rice could help to prevent vitamin A deficiency, improve the health of the people who consume it, and ultimately contribute to reducing overall burden of malnutrition here in the Philippines. So in summary, golden rice, targets the issue of food security in the Philippines by addressing the nutritional deficiencies of vitamin A in the population, particularly among children who are at high risk of developing serious health problems due to lack of essential nutrient. So the development and the use of genetically modified crops such as golden rice also carry potential risk according to the GMO activists, and benefits must be evaluated on case-to-case basis. Some potential risks associated with golden rice includes ecological risk. So the introduction of genetically modified organisms or GMOs can have unintended consequences for the environment. For example, the introduction of a new gene into the ecosystem could have unpredictable effects on other organisms. Second is health risk. The safety of consuming GMOs, including golden rice, is an ongoing concern. While the World Health Organization and other organizations have concluded that genetically modified foods are safe for consumption, some studies have raised concerns about potential health risks. An example of these are allergens and then antibiotic resistance. So third is socio-economic risk. Golden rice could have unintended impacts on socio-economic fabric of communities where it is introduced. For example, it could displace traditional crops or reduce crop diversity, which could impact the food security. So, intellectual property rights. There are concerns about the ownership and control of technology used to create golden rice, which is controlled by smaller companies. So, it is important to note that these risks must be balanced against the potential benefits of golden rice, which include the ability to address vitamin A deficiency and related health issues in communities where rice is a staple food. Ultimately, the decision to use genetically modified crops, including golden rice, must be based on careful evaluation and risk and benefits in context of the local conditions and priorities.
So for the shelf life of golden rice, it can last up to about 6 months as long as it is vacuum packed. The way golden rice can be cooked is kind of similar to normal regular rice via cooking it with rice cooker, like ordinary rice. Like ordinary rice, golden rice does not require any special cultivation practices and generally has the same yield and agronomic performance. So for availability, since this product was only approved around 2 years ago, we're not 100% sure if this product is available in the local markets in the Philippines. But if you would like to purchase golden rice, you could buy it online, but the cost might be higher than normal since it is from abroad or not local.
Okay, so golden rice was developed by the Department of Agriculture Philippine Rice Research Institute in partnership with the International Rice Research Institute to contain additional levels of beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A. So the biosafety permit of the commercial propagation of GR2E malusog rice was issued by Department of Agriculture Philippine Rice Research Institute on July 21, 2021. On the December 18, 2019, the FFP permit was issued by the DABPI approving GR2E malusog rice for direct use as food and feed processing for the Philippines. So, Dr. Sagado said that once there is a sufficient supply of golden rice here in the Philippines, the province of Maguindanao will be the first province to avail of its health benefits. The other provinces mentioned were Quirino, Catanduanes, Samar, Antique, Lanao del Norte, and Agusan del Sur. And, that's it for our podcast on our GMO product called Golden Rice. Thank you so much for watching.
The Nutrition Nerds Podcast. I am Enrique Torres. And this is Edward. Our guest speaker today will be talking about GMO potatoes. In today's segment, we will be talking about a very interesting topic, which is on genetically modified organisms or GMOs. We will be trying to answer the questions: what are GMOs? Why do we need them? And what are their pros and cons to food production? Since there are a wide arrangement of different kinds of GMOs, we will be specifically looking at the example of genetically modified potato. Now, the origins of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, can be traced back to the early 1970s, when scientists first began to explore the possibilities of transferring genes from one organism to another. The first genetically modified organism was created in 1973 by Stanley Cohen and Herbert Boyer, who inserted a foreign gene into a bacterium. In the 1980s, the first genetically modified plant produced by scientists at the University of California, who engineered a tobacco plant to be resistant to antibiotics. Since then, genetically modified crops have become increasingly common, with genetically modified corn, soybeans, cottons, and many more being among the widely grown. The use of GMOs have been a controversial issue, however, with some people concerned about the potential risk to human health and the environment. Proponents of GMOs argue that they can be used to increase crop yield and reduce the use of pesticides and other harmful chemicals. Today, GMOs are used in agriculture and food production, with genetically modified crops being grown in many countries around the world. However, the debate over their safety and potential risk continues, and ongoing research is being conducted to address these concerns. Let me talk to you about some of their pros. There are several advantages of genetically modified organisms, including 1. Crop yields. GMOs can be engineered to be more resistant to pests, diseases, and environmental stress, which can increase crop yield and reduce loss to crop damage. 2. Improved nutrition. Scientists can be genetically engineered to enhance the nutrition value of crops, such as increasing the levels of vitamins or minerals. 3. Reduce the use of pesticides. GMOs can be designed to be more resistant to pests, reducing the need for pesticides and harmful chemicals. This can lead to lower costs for farmers and reduce environmental impact. 4. Enhance flavor and appearance. Genetic engineering can be used to enhance flavor, texture, and the appearance of crops, which can increase their appeal to consumers and improve their marketability. 5. Better resistance to environmental stress. GMOs can be engineered to be more resistant to environmental stress such as drought and extreme temperatures, which can ensure the survival of crops in challenging conditions. Potential 6. Potential for new medical treatments. GMOs can be used to produce proteins or other substances that can be used for medical purposes, such as producing insulin for diabetes treatments and others. Overall, the potential of GMOs include increased food production, improved nutrition, and reduce environmental impact. However, it is important to carefully consider the potential risks and ethical implications of genetically engineering. And ongoing research is necessary. Overall, the potential benefits of GMOs include food production, improved nutrition, and reduced environmental impact. However, it is important to carefully consider the potential risks, and ongoing research is necessary to ensure their safety and effectiveness. Now, for their cons. There are several potential cons for genetically modified organisms. First being environmental risks. There is a risk that GMOs can interbreed with wild relatives, leading to creation of new species or the displacement of native species. Also, genetically modified crops may have an unintended effect on their surrounding ecosystem, such as reducing biodiversity or harming non target organisms. 2. Health concerns. Some people are concerned that GMOs may cause allergies or other health problems. While there is currently no conclusive evidence to support these claims, the long term effects of consuming GMOs are still largely unknown, as it is fairly new. 3. Economic impact. There are concerns that genetically modified crops may increase the dependency of farmers on seeds and chemical companies. The high cost of GM seeds and the need for specific herbicides and pesticides make it hard for small farmers to compete with large industrial scale farming operations. 4. Ethical concerns. Some people have ethical concerns about genetically modified organisms. They argue that tampering with genetic makeup of plants and animals may be seen as playing God or interfering with nature. 5. Labeling issues. Some people feel strongly that GMO should be labeled so consumers can make informed choices about the food they eat. However, many countries, including the United States, do not require GMO labeling. It is worth noting their advantages as well as their disadvantages. Now here is Edward to tell us more about its effects and implications on a potato.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Enriquez. Now I want to talk about russet potatoes and basically how they were initially created. So these are also known as the Idaho potato. So they are types of potatoes that are commonly used for baking, frying, and mashing. So because these are really commonly chosen because of their typically large size, oblong in shape, and they have a rough brown skin. So basically, the development of russet potatoes can be traced to the mid 19th centuries, mainly being developed in North America. The main creator or main person credited for creating this would be Burbank, Luther Burbank, who is an American horticulturist who is actually credited for developing out of many varieties of fruits and vegetables. So, in order to create the russet potato in the mid 19th centuries, Burbank began breeding different types of potatoes in order to get specific varieties and attributes out of these said potatoes. So, in order to get a specific attribute, such as smooth skin or tan skin or a white flesh, he bred together a certain amount of different varieties and species of potatoes, which would have the offspring, in a sense, of a new species or mixed species of potatoes, which had specific features. And from this, through, in a sense, selective breeding, he was able to perfect his russet potatoes. And white russet potatoes, in a sense, from white russet potatoes, in a sense, are a more futuristic, high-tech version of this, like building on previous iterations of the russet potato in order to using more advanced technologies. They are able to further solidify the characteristics of the said potato, i.e., making it more the flesh more white and or the size or the yield bigger, as well as making the time for it to grow a lot shorter.
So for the white russet potato, it actually is a very unique way on how it is more eco-friendly in a sense and how much you save on food scraps, because the main savings you get from this is due to its appearance, mainly from how people normally throw away scraps or what they tend to think is scraps. So this may include when normal potatoes are actually uh, exposed to oxygen, which causes oxidation. So because of this, people think the browning of the potatoes is actually not as appealing in a sense. Therefore, they throw it out. So by the GMO changing how the potatoes, in a sense, flesh reacts to oxygen, it's actually able to look more appealing, therefore save on food scraps. So therefore, this type of GMO, aside from the increase in yield as well as the decreased time it takes to grow, it doesn't work the same way, as it mainly focuses on its appearance. Because even though the potato has been exposed to oxygen, it tastes the same, it has all the same nutrients, but only the main difference is that there is a change in color. Therefore, a lot of people, or most people, would tend to stray away from it due to its unappealing color, therefore creating more food waste compared to it being a GMO. Therefore, the color of the flesh of the potato is a lot more satisfying to look at and appealing.
Thanks, Edward, for sharing a lot about GMO potatoes. Who knew that they would be so beneficial and so interesting, actually? Join us for our next talk, where we'll be talking about different kinds of fibers and how they will be beneficial to the way your digestive system works. Thanks, everyone, for listening.